Hi guys, Dre here, back at it once again with a brand new video for you, and welcome back to Motorsport 101. I hope you guys have been enjoying the recent Dre Brief videos and the recent doubleheader of shows we had on the network as well. Don't forget to follow us on social media as well, all the links are in the description if you like what we do here. This is another video blog. I've not done one of these for a little while now because I've not really had a major big topic that I wanted to get into. And I felt like a Dre Brief would be kind of repeating some old material, talking about Danny Watts, for example, with Motorsport having an image problem. And I thought I'd tackle it in a longer video blog here, and people seem to like this sort of thing, so I'll give it a try this way instead, and see how you guys like the format, let me know. Right, so, the news, if you probably haven't seen it already, but you've probably clicked the title of this video and not noticed it till now. Formula 1 is to stop using grid girls as of effective immediately. So from the 2018 season starting up, there was a statement that was put on the Formula 1 website regarding this, which I'll read out now. My monitor's over here, so bear with me if I look to the right for a few minutes here. It says, Formula 1 will end the long-standing practice of using walk-on grid girls, commencing with the start of the 2018 Formula 1 World Championship season. These changes also apply to our other motorsport series that take place during the Grand Prix weekends. Formula 1 considers the time spent by teams and drivers on the grid before a race as one of celebration, where guests and various performers can add to the glamour and spectacle of the Grand Prix, enabling promoters and partners to showcase their countries and products. Over the last year, we have looked at a number of areas which we felt needed updating so as to be more in tune with our vision for this great sport, said Sean Bratches, Managing Director, Commercial Operations at Formula 1. While the practice of employing grid girls has been a staple of Formula 1 grids for decades, we feel this custom does not resonate with our brand values and clearly is at odds with modern-day societal norms. We don't believe the practice is appropriate or relevant to Formula 1 and its fans, old and new, across the world. End quote. Yeah. Now, for what it's worth, if you're not new to this channel, you'll probably already know my stance on this. I've spoken about these issues numerous times on the podcast itself and in previous videos, but let me just re-establish it for those guys that may be new here. I'm in total agreement with this decision, and I'm firmly in the camp of it's about damn time, quite frankly. And I'm glad that Formula 1 has realised that they had a consultation with many key figures in the sport. They were going to investigate the issue. They sat round a table. I didn't think they were going to do this, and they did. I wonder if that's something to do with what happened in darts recently. And I don't know if you guys are into your darts or whatnot, but I am. And they had a news story last week where they announced that they were dropping walk-on goals effective immediately right before their first event of 2018, the Masters, which was this past weekend, won by Michael Van Gerwen. Ironically, Van Gerwen was one of the key figures that led the charge, saying the tradition should be dropped. And apparently the PDC didn't even buck an eyelid. Apparently when the broadcast, it was the broadcasters who put pressure on the PDC to drop them. So Sky Sports and ITV, who were the biggest broadcasters of darts in the United Kingdom, those were the guys who kicked up the biggest stink to say, yeah, you should probably drop these girls now. And people in darts have inevitably been a bit pissy about this, saying, oh yeah, I watch for the girls. And I'm like, you're really watching darts? Darts for the women? Now, it's ironic because darts has had similar, in my opinion at least, similar image problems as it's come to fruition as a sport. There was a time, not all that long ago, when darts was the butt of every comedian's jokes about basically being full of fat alcoholics. That's just kind of how it was back then.
You join us during the final stages of this truly titanic struggle between Di Fat Belly Gut Bucket and the English champion Tommy Even Fatter Belly Belcher. So it's Fat Belly to go first. And it's a good start. Double vodka. Single pint. Another double vodka. That's
100 milligrams.
100 milligrams. That's a good start for Fat Belly.
See what I mean? It's not ideal, to say the least. You know, darts has gone out of its way over the years to try and improve its image. You know, removing that alcoholic nature of it, removing, you know, alcoholic drinks on stage. You know, basically trying to clean their sport up a little bit. I work in a bookies, it's the same principle, trust me. And I'm glad Formula One has gone out of its way to do this, because in my opinion, you can still be glamorous, you can still be a great, easy to watch sport on the eye, and not alienate half your population and half your audience or fan base by having women out there parading advertisements on their bodies for things that aren't relevant to the sport itself, right? Like, I used to be one of those meathead F1 fans that used to think this way until I actually shut up, sat down and listened to female motorsport fans who get catcalled at every event they go to, who have every assumption made about them that they're only there because their boyfriend's into Formula 1 or their husband's down there into F1, or they're using grid girls themselves, you know, basically as a moral barometer of, you know, something you can desire, something you could want. And again, Formula One's had that reputation for years. Like, James Hunt was that guy. I mean, one of the first scenes in the movie Rush that came out a couple of years ago was him bonking somebody in the back. It happens, and that's how it was. I've done pictures about that in previous videos, talking about that, the nature, and we just kind of got used to it, because let's not forget, like, Formula One has had that image. Grid girls were brought in the 60s and 70s basically just to advertise shit, and it wasn't even relevant. And that's objectifying, and we shouldn't probably use people's bodies to advertise things that aren't relevant to it. I've never been a fan of that. I've always looked at that and gone, well, what's the point of that? Like, has anyone ever bought an item from a store because it was advertised on a grid girl? I haven't, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone on this without even realising it. So I have always been a firm believer in that camp of just, well, why is this a thing? Why is this still a thing? Like, and as we become a more relevant, more open society, one that talks about these dangerous issues more frequently, and basically talking about things like equality and feminism a lot more on the internet now than we did 20 years ago. Now is as good a time as ever to have these difficult conversations and talk about things like feminism and equality, and sitting there wondering to ourselves, you know, why is this still a thing? I remember when Last Week Tonight did it a few years ago, they did a piece on, like, why is the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue still a thing? It's barely got anything to do with sport, and yet you'll stick someone like Kate Upton on the cover who doesn't even play sports. Same shit here, basically, and, like, it makes the situation, like, even worse when fans of the sport are pushing back against this, and for seemingly just the dumbest or straw man argument reasons. For example, I saw Romain Grosjean tweet about this. I'm going to pull up a friend of mine's tweet about it because she summed it up better than I could. Shout out to Catherine Benham. I know she's a big fan of the show. Hi, Catherine. Like, she said, Romain Grosjean tweeted out, like, I don't care, I'm married with the most beautiful girl on earth. And Catherine responded by saying, and I quote, the funny thing about this take is that it demonstrates that a man perceives grid girls as women who are there to imagine yourself with and to be alluring, not to hold a sign. That's the significant issue. Like, I've used this quote before as one for the dads. Like, the dads are tuning in because there's an attractive woman on TV and they might stick around for the sport. Like, Sutton Images has been guilty of this on numerous occasions, of often posting scantily clad women as photographs without their consent, and everyone just being okay with it because it's glamorous, it's great. You know, they're at Monaco, they're in their bikinis, they're watching out of the balcony, it's really sexy. And, you know, that's good, right? And it just isn't. And, like, the fans that are kicking up on this, right, they often come up with really trolly, straw man sort of arguments, right, as to why they shouldn't be banned. Like, the one I saw commonly was, well, F1's got all these other big important problems. And to which I say to that, yeah, they're getting to that. It's like, they have a 2021 regulation rule change that's coming in, right? It's their first one with them as owners rather than Bernie and his group. It's now Liberty Media. And from what I've read of those regulation changes, I actually quite like what's coming, you know. They're still going to stick to hybrids, but they're going to be more manageable, they're going to be less moving parts, they're going to be a bit more efficient, and they're going to have more manual curves to hopefully aid overtaking. So it's more tactical, and that could actually be quite cool to watch on track. So, like, the difference is that grid goals you can drop very quickly. Big engine issues you can't. Like, you can't tell a multi-billion-dollar company like Mercedes, oh, you know those hybrids? We're going to scrap them. You need to build a brand new car in 6 months, right, and get it ready for the grid in March. Do you know how stupid that sounds? Like, they'd have to spend billions of dollars to put that together to make that happen. Like, engine development, research, all that shit in Formula 1 is ludicrously expensive. Super expensive. And you need time to make those changes happen. You can't just bring it in overnight and say, oh, well, here we go then. Next year we're going to drop the hybrids, we're going to go back to V10s, which I know a lot of F1 fans would love to have right now. Like, we're going to go back to the V10s and we're going to do this, and it's going to happen by March, and it's going to be great. I guarantee you every team would veto that and shoot it down right here and now if that was on the table. Because it's too expensive. You can't put all this money into hybrid engines, right? Drop them at a drop of a hat and then build a brand new engine in a matter of months and cost them even more money to go to a different set. It's not feasible, it's not realistic, and you don't know how business works if that's going to be a thing. It's not practical. So, yeah, okay, if you are cynical towards those changes, then that's fine, but don't use it as a shield to justify grid goals being on the grid. It's dumb, it's childish, quite frankly. It's... like the other one I heard was, but the models will lose money, and I'm like, guys, you're probably trolling here. Have you ever showed concern about what a model is making when they're at a sports event? Have you, because I don't think people have. I really don't. I think people are trolling for the sake of it because they're pretending to care about these people's jobs. Because they've never brought that argument to the table before, ever. I guarantee you that. Like, could you imagine if a really bigger problem in society came around, like, for example, you know, equality in pay, like equal pay for equal work, like, or talking about women's rights or feminism in general? Because in America, for example, I remember, again, another segment, where in most jobs, the average woman is making 14p less than men doing the exact same work. I bet half the people that are saying, oh, but this girl's going to lose money, I've never actually tweeted about that or tried to go out of their way to support said changes. It's like they're pulling this argument out of thin air as like their shield to justify keeping grid girls on the grid when they don't actually care about these women at all. I openly admit it is going to be problematic, and it's sad that a lot of people are going to lose money as collateral damage as a result of this. I remember hearing an interview with one of the darts walk-on girls who said that 60% of her earnings come from doing the rounds on the darts events, and that's sad. Like, I don't want to see people lose money. Of course I don't. But at the same time, it's collateral damage for a bigger issue here, and that is the sport shouldn't be using women as props to advertise their sport. At least in my opinion, like, you can do this without alienating half your audience. At least that's what I think anyway. Why not do what Formula E did and have, you know, grid kids, like guys in the driving schools that would come down, and that might be their first experience on a proper motorsports grid. That could be a story you could tell your grandkids. That could pull in new fans, the next generation of fans that could come in and truly enjoy it. That could be awesome. But we gotta have grid girls on there because dads need to rub one out. The logic is baffling, and the logic is baffling, and the logic to defend it, I think, is even more baffling. Like, if people want to do it, that's great. Like, you can have modelling careers and not be in Formula 1. Like, I don't think if a model is getting to the point where they can get F1 gigs on the regular, they're going to be losing too much money if they're not on an F1 grid and they could be doing something else or advertising another sport. Because, let's be real here, plenty of sports do this as well. Like MotoGP, for example, they go one step further. They have paddock girl videos on their YouTube account, for fuck's sake. Like, this is not like a devastating blow to the industry. There'll still be plenty of motorsport series that will have grid girls on them. This is only the start. It's a drop in the bucket. And if anything, I guarantee you track promoters will still have podium girls, and they'll still have girls that will walk them to Parc Ferme like we've seen in Australia before, where they have like a fleet of 50 women up and down the stairs, clapping them up as they've won, because they still have that old notion of, hey, you won the race, you get the girl. Yeah, awesome, great, fantastic. So there's still work to do on this front, and I hope the track promoters follow suit and drop this stuff, because there's better ways of advertising a sport than using a woman's body, in my opinion, and I hope it's the start of more series taking that on board, like Formula 1 and like darts have in recent weeks. I'm probably going to be called an SJW snowflake or something along those lines on Twitter in the next 20 seconds of people that's furiously typing out comments, but if you've got your 2 cents on this, I'm not going to say I'm going to stop you. You've probably already tweeted about this by now or some shit, so leave a comment down below. I hope you guys appreciated the video and at least respected my point of view. That's all I ask. I'm not even saying you have to agree, because I don't. I do it because I feel like I'm not doing this to get people on side. I'm doing it because I have a platform. I have pride to have this platform, and I want to use it to make a difference. That's my opinion anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys soon. Sayonara.